Hey, I hope you guys are doing good today. We are going to be watching the most violent animal on Earth. I am very excited for this one. I think it's going to be very interesting. So I think this is going to be pretty entertaining. If you do get a chance, I'd appreciate if you can leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a bunch, and I will have Casual Geographic's video linked in my description below. So be sure to give him a like and subscribe because he does an amazing job with these videos. But all right, let's see what the most violent animal on Earth is. Let's go.
So in 2016, the University of Granada published a study that tried to answer the question of what mammal out of the thousands on Earth is the most homicidal. And the results, well, if it wasn't on paper, you wouldn't believe it. Researchers created a
Honestly, I don't know what I would choose. Like if I had to pick one, I don't know. I honestly I don't know. I don't know what would I feel like I would have maybe some choices, but I feel like I'd also be really wrong.
list of over 1,000 candidates, and by painstakingly studying over 4 million animal deaths total
Oh
and
my
recording how
gosh.
many of those life retirements were caused by the same species, they were able to mathematically determine what mammals are the most likely to murder their own kind. And nobody could have predicted some of the answers. The Dama gazelle placed 16th on the homicide scale with an
The 16th for this little guy. It looks so cute. Maybe that's the whole ploy. Their cuteness is actually really hostile.
11.85% chance of getting past tense by another Dama. Slightly
Oh
above
my
them, at
gosh.
14th, were chinchillas, with a probability of getting put down by a fellow chilla at a solid 12%. Brown
A 12%? Dang. Dang. They're just all about that life, aren't they?
bears just barely made the top 30 at less than 10%. But the
Hmm.
bears of the sea, specifically the New Zealand sea lion, lapped them with an execution rate above 15. Now, you're probably wondering where humans ranked on this list. We gotta be up there. I mean, there's just no way.
Yeah.
Humans didn't even crack the top 40, with less than 2% of human soul evictions caused by another human. In fact, according to the numbers, lemurs have far more bloodlust than humans and chimpanzees. But
Wow. They would have more than both? Dang. I wouldn't have guessed that one. I really wouldn't have.
in fact, according to the numbers, lemurs have far more bloodlust than humans and chimpanzees. But the most horny for homicide mammal in this study, the most murderous creature on Earth, was the meerkat. No, not a meerkat, the meerkat, with about 20% of those in God's recently deleted having been airdropped by another meerkat. But like
I this one wasn't even a thought in my mind. The meerkat. Okay. All right. All right. Apparently they are crazy. They're a little crazy.
meerkat, with about 20% of those in God's recently deleted having been airdropped by another meerkat. But like with any true psychopath, to see where these tendencies come from, we gotta look at their family.
Oh yeah.
Meerkats are a type of mongoose, an animal that essentially married crackhead determination with gang mentality. We're gonna get back to them in a second, but just know, running a fade with mongoose is like getting attacked by a team of temperamental tube socks with teeth. But if you take a wider look,
It's like a tube sock with teeth. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're so cute though. Oh, why are the cute ones always so murderous and volatile? Why is it always the cute ones?
a fade with mongoose is like getting attacked by a team of temperamental tube socks with teeth. But if you take a wider look, meerkats belong to a superfamily that I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. I
Oh
just know
yeah.
that they share it with fusas, which I talked about last video, and hyenas. Yeah, the hyenas' closest relatives are mongooses like the meerkat, and that made no sense to me until I heard what meerkats sound like.
Oh, that is very hyena-esque. Yep. Yep. I I can hear it.
Sound like.
So cute.
The mongoose is probably most famous for their eternal beef with snakes. Except the
Right.
word beef is doing a lot of heavy lifting, since snake versus mongoose is more lopsided than an edge up from Stevie Wonder. A common misconception is that they're immune to snake venom. They're resistant, but there's a point where enough venom will murk even a mongoose. The mongoose has a mutation in their nicotinic acetylcholine receptor that makes it harder for neurotoxic snake venom to bind to it. That's how the same cobra that can flatline a person in 15 minutes can fully get put on a t-shirt by a warpath weasel. And meerkats will run fades with highly venomous snakes and turn them into a belt if they need to. These sand assault squirrels will even weaponize the power of friendship to flex on enemies like snakes through a process called
The power of friendship. Hey, you know what? There is power in numbers when you are, trying to eat and trying to hunt for these little guys. That you know what? I support it.
Assault squirrels will even weaponize the power of friendship to flex on enemies like snakes through a process called mobbing. Speaking of which, don't worry, I didn't forget about this, but to explain why meerkats have such a high KD ratio.
Okay, so the meerkat is at 19.36. I honestly would have never thought I would never thought this. That is crazy. Because the brown bear down at the bottom, it says 9.772. So this is percentage of deaths inflicted by members of the same species. I mean, like that's really low. Like even pumas, I actually thought would have been higher, but like 11.73, that's not really that bad. Snow leopards is underneath that. I mean, there's a lot of these that I never would have thought would have been this high up on a list like this. Although the lion is at 13, so that's not too far off. And then so we got the red-tailed monkey, blue monkey, red-fronted lemur, the mongoose lemur. I mean, these are all kind of like, I mean, the lemurs and meerkats and stuff, like they all kind of, seem like they're a little unhinged. Monkeys can be pretty unhinged too. But some of these on here, like I'm actually very, very surprised. The chinchilla kind of surprised me for sure. Um Spider monkey, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the spider monkey. I kind of feel like I could totally see that though. The round-eared bat and the greater spear-nosed bat. That's a little bit surprising. But yeah, the wild dogs, that's pretty low, but I would have thought there would have been a lot bigger animals on here, but you know, it that's just what makes it interesting.
Against their own kind, you gotta understand how functionally dysfunctional their families are. The Meerkat Empire is built on a foundation of violence, extortion, spawn killing,
Oh my
cannibalism, but most
gosh.
importantly, a power-hungry mother, and it goes like this. Meerkats live in groups called mobs, and each mob is a conglomerate of several family units merged together as one. And sitting at the throne of each mob are the dominant couple, the alpha male, but more importantly, the alpha female. Because
Mm.
like with their bigger hyena cousins, meerkats are female dominated, and it's the biggest, meanest mama meerkat that calls the shots. Everyone has a job in meerkat society, and the alpha
Oh, so it's like meerkat mob, like the mob, like they're like little mobsters.
female is responsible for birthing new members to the mob, which is why she eats by far more than anyone else, so that she can make enough milk to feed her pups. The top
Mm.
male is primarily in charge of guarding his defenseless kids, and when he's not doing that, he's usually out hunting or spreading his scent to reinforce his territory. Then you have the scout team, the meerkats whose jobs are to forage for food wherever they can find it. And watching their backs are the sentinels, the security guards of the clan who keep an eye out for ops like eagles or jackals and will alert the foragers of
This is like a whole operation though. This is actually very impressive. It's very impressive. Like this, the fact that they kind of have like a whole, uh, hierarchy circuit going here. I mean, that is impressive.
the security guards of the clan who keep an eye out for ops like eagles or jackals and will alert the foragers of danger with an alarm call. And back with the newborns are the babysitters who keep the new recruits from wandering and
The
going MIA, and the
babysitter.
second they hear that alarm, they either rush the kids back underground or prepare to defend them with their life. And of
Mm.
course, to teach the meerkats how to meerkat, you have meerkat mentors. That job description includes passing down all the tricks of the trade, like how a scorpion minus a stinger is just free protein. They'll even hand a mutilated scorpion to the pups for them to hone their hunting prowess on. By the way, did you know that when you remove a scorpion's stinger, you also remove its anus? So if they don't get destroyed
I did not know that. You also, oh gosh, what a way to go. Oh man.
prowess on. By the way, did you know that when you remove a scorpion's stinger, you also remove its anus? So if they don't get discharged from reality right there, they get put in a coffin by severe constipation months later, the more you know. And
Oh
last are the pups
man.
themselves, and their only job is to not die. And you're gonna see why just surviving meerkat society can be harder than Hefner.
Oh,
One of the most
they are very cute little babies though. I mean, look at these little guys.
is to not
I
die.
love them.
And you're gonna see why just surviving meerkat society can be harder than Hefner. One of the most crucial rules of meerkat monarchy is that only the alpha female is allowed to have pups, and she can end up spawning 80% of all the infants in the mob.
Oh
If
my
one of her
gosh.
subordinates literally around and she's the one to find out, the penalties can include the illicit offspring getting discontinued permanently, and even the offending female getting banished from the family by the queen. And with how meerkat mobs work, a lot of times this involves a mother evicting her own daughter.
This sounds pretty savage. This is uh wow. Wow. That's about all I could say about that. Uh ugh, rough life. Rough life. I guess just you just gotta stay in line.
Queen. And with how meerkat mobs work, a lot of times this involves a mother evicting her own daughter. And when meerkats being used social, getting kicked out can be a death sentence with extra steps. So often the outcast will come crawling back, and sometimes she's allowed back in, but on one condition. The alpha female can and will force the insubordinate outlaw to breastfeed her children, basically using the threat of eviction to turn what's often her own daughter into a wet nurse. The price of permission.
That is crazy. That is crazy. But I guess you gotta have order. This is crazy.
Basically using the threat of eviction to turn what's often her own daughter into a wet nurse. The price of promiscuity is why most baby meerkats born will celebrate their first birthday in the afterlife. Pups
Oh
not
man.
birthed by the alpha are at such a risk that some insubordinate females will even catch a case eliminating the queen's kids if it means giving her own a better chance. But it's not that easy. The meerkat monarch is so attached to the throne that she's even willing to exile one of her daughters just for getting too big and therefore being too big of a threat. Just like hyenas,
Oh.
female meerkats produce double the testosterone as males, and they use this to bully the rest of the mob into submission. A banished female does have the options of either trying to bag a bachelor to start a mob of her own, or just straight up trying to join a new one. But there's always the chance she gets violently rejected for her efforts. To put it in perspective, imagine a grandmother that not only puts her daughters out on the street for getting pregnant, not only turns her own grandchildren into a case number, but only lets that daughter live under her roof if she agrees to nurse her mother's kids, which, yes, would mean breastfeeding their own younger siblings.
I mean, when you put it in like that kind of perspective, it makes it a little wild. It makes it kind of weird. But I feel like in the animal kingdom, like you kind of have to separate that though, because or else you will like I think you'll just go crazy, right? But that is like such a weird perspective, like to understand like how it all works for them. It is pretty crazy to think about because like if you're trying to hold on to that power, obviously, you know, animals kind of do some crazy unhinged stuff. So it's just how they operate. It's just how it goes. Is it crazy? Yes.
It's twisted, but that's just how meerkats manner. And speaking of siblings,
Yeah.
even your own roommate in the womb weight room can do you dirty. Meerkat pups will often square up and throw paws with each other, and even though these fights aren't to the death like with hyena cubs, there's a direct relationship between the availability of food and just how violent these fades can get. Early on, meerkat pups rely 100% on helpers bringing them food, and a pup will start something with their own sibling if they see that one getting too close to a helper. The human equivalent would be your mom coming home with McDonald's and you and your brother throwing fisticuffs with the winner getting to eat and the loser getting to watch.
Oh
Actually, we might
man.
not be that different. And if that weren't enough,
I mean that's probably kind of true. Like depending depending. That actually makes a lot of sense though.
there's always the possibility of a rogue male kidnapping an unsupervised pup to try to add it
Oh
to his
my
own
god.
mob. To be fair, kidnapping's rare, but it usually ends with one less meerkat to count. Now, everything I just mentioned involves politics within the mob. Inter-mob conflicts happen too, and it's usually when a foraging party of sand-seasoned assassins trespasses into rival territory. And like with every other aspect of this murder mongoose's life, this too can lead to violence. The meerkat mafia will try to intimidate the opposition with a war dance. Now usually, that's all this is, just a bunch of aggressive posturing and a healthy helping of hold me back. But 10% of the time, words can't do what war can, and it gets physical enough to remove multiple meerkats from the census. And according to studies done in the Kalahari, almost half of mob-on-mob brutality is initiated by the alpha male. So long
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean 10% really isn't that bad though. So like I mean, like I get maybe if you get a little bit too close and then everyone kind of puffs up, and then it gets and then it gets fixed after that. Like that's fair. That's fair. I absolutely love the side eye of this one. The side eye action we got going on here with this. I love it. It does make sense. I mean, like I feel like there's a lot of animals that are very territorial. So, if the puffing up leads to more, then that's just kind of how it goes.
Kalahari, almost half of mob-on-mob brutality is initiated by the alpha male. So long story short, males are usually the ones starting stuff with other mobs, while females prefer to keep their beef inside the family. All that adds
Mm,
up to 1 in every 5 Meerkat obituaries being authored by another Meerkat. Meanwhile, the much more infamous hyena has a homicidal hit rate of about 8%. It's to the point where you almost
that's pretty drastic though. That's a pretty big difference between the two, like 8% to the 20%. I mean, like either way, like obviously it seems like this kind of happens with all different kinds of animals, but the fact that the meerkats are this high up there and stuff, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
infamous hyena has a homicidal hit rate of about 8%. It's to the point where you almost wonder why meerkats don't just choose to live on their own, since the biggest threat
Oh
to their
yeah,
way of
right.
life is often another meerkat. The answer is eusociality. SparkNote's version, it's a system where there's one female spawning babies and everybody else works together to bring up the children while also splitting the labor of the colony. Bees and ants are probably the most famous eusocial insects, and so far we can
Mm.
only name 2 eusocial mammals, those being the raisin of rodents, the naked mole rat, and mongooses like, yeah. Meerkats live in the desolate, sun-baked deserts of the Kalahari, where grocery shopping is a treasure hunt and death can get delivered to you faster than an Amazon package.
Oh
The
man.
mob system, although not perfect, keeps members fed and protected, especially the
That is true. I mean, like they don't like they're not very big. So I mean, I guess that's like the trade-off, right? Like you live in a like community essentially or commune. I'm gonna call it a mob mob commune. But essentially you are safe, like you have jobs and you just kind of have to stay in line, but maybe that beats being alone and ending up like this, you know?
Amazon package. The mob system, although not perfect, keeps members fed and protected, especially the pups who almost always have someone watching over them. Their alarm system is so advanced that the sentinels have different calls for different situations with different levels of urgency. For example, the warning call for an approaching fox or jackal is not the same for that of a bird of prey. And like I
Mm.
said, the power of friendship is their best weapon against threats like snakes. In fact, the only snakes they really have to worry about are the ones related to them. So, when it comes to Meerkat family, you can't live with them, but you don't got a chance in hell without them.
Yeah, that is true. That is a very good point, and that's just kind of like the animal kingdom, like it sometimes is a pretty savage, but I guess if you stay in line and can, I guess follow the rules for the meerkat monarchy, then you should be fine.
I've called a lot of animals homicidal, but no mammal is more murderous and more of a legitimate danger to themselves than a
Oh my god.
baby-faced foot-tall Terminator and the comic relief of Lion King. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
What are you picking a fight with this thing for? Oh my gosh. I really enjoyed this one. This one was really good. I honestly never would have thought that it was going to be the meerkat. I really didn't. I guess like maybe like now that I think about it, like maybe I would have picked like mice or rats or something like that. But meerkat was not. It really it was not on my radar if I had to pick something. But that is crazy. What a crazy way to live. It's like a total hierarchy mob type of commune. I don't crazy. Animals are crazy. I absolutely love it though. It's so interesting to see how they all function and how they all work and everything. I think that's really cool. I really do. I think it's very interesting. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys being here. Be sure to go and like and subscribe to Casual Geographic because he does just a great job, and I love his videos so much. So be sure to go give him lots of support. But that's gonna do it for me. I hope you guys had a great day, and I will see you in the next one.